roll call of the board members, please.
Certainly. Robertson.
Here.
Racine.
Here.
Yulee. Here. Gustinelli. Here. Stiglione.
Here.
Fudge.
Here.
And DeGood.
Here. We'll go next to our period of public comment. Anybody who would like to make a statement? I don't think we have any, we do not have any public hearings on the agenda tonight. So any public statements anybody would like to make, feel free to step up to the podium. There's another opportunity for public statement at the end of the meeting as well. Seeing no one rushing to the podium, we'll go ahead and close public comment and move on to our review and approval of the agenda and statement of any conflicts of interest.
Make a motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
We have a motion by Fudge, support by Yulee. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. Motion passes. Next, we'll review the minutes from our January 28th, 2026 meeting.
Make the motion to accept the minutes from January 28th, right? Yeah.
Support.
We have a motion by Robertson, support by Gustinelli. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. Motion passes. John, Steve, do we have any correspondence?
We do not. Nope.
All right, we'll move on to reports. Anything from the Township Board, Molly?
Just one thing, on March the 2nd, the city will be voting on the expansion of our water lines into Long Lake Township. It's been kind of contentious, and evidently they've worked out a deal, and they'll be voting on whether or not to make that expansion. That's it.
Okay. Anything from any of the planning commissioners, zoning board of appeals?
No meeting since the last report.
All right, Parks and Recreation has not met since the last report.
And we did meet on.
We did meet.
February
Yeah,
2nd,
I was
yeah.
here last week for that. That's right. Yeah. All right. I don't know that we have much to share. We did have some discussion about,
Kind of get clarity on the direction for River East, which Township engineer and our landscape architect are finalizing some things, especially the engineer for the bathroom and the parking lot to get those out for bid. We did receive the Eagle permit for the Commons Natural Area, and we were just talking with DNR today on reviewing the plans for that. I think that might actually be it. There's other.
I think we had some discussion about the mobile food trucks.
Yeah, and we said we'll bring, probably after we continue and get some language here, we'll bring something back to them for something in the parkland ordinance, so. Yeah.
And in general, I sensed some interest in discussing and some recognition that it would be a feature in parks that might be occasionally beneficial to parks users.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it seemed warm to the idea, so
Yeah.
more to come on that.
All right, and anything from the Joint Planning Commission? Have met?
No report since our last meeting.
Okay.
Did
John?
want to add, though, last night the Township Board set the public hearing for the amendment to the development regulations for the Commons. So that's addressing the historic Barnes Park. It's adjusting to allow for sheds in and around the community garden. So that will be on the March 10th Township Board agenda. The city is going concurrently through its process to amend the same development regulations with the same amendment.
Okay. Well, what do we have in terms of staff report?
It's in your packet. We don't really have anything else to add, but it's trying to keep it a little bit shorter. It was kind of getting really lengthy, so to be a little bit more concise, but felt it was helpful to at least keep people apprised of the things that we're involved in.
Yeah, it did seem like a nice, concise summary, I thought. John?
John, just one question. I noticed at the bottom of page 2 of the report, you tell us about this, the town board adopting a stormwater ordinance.
and suggesting that maybe the planning commission would want to review that to see what, if any, changes we might suggest to be made to the zoning ordinance. Is that something that staff has going to be added to our to-do list, so we don't lose track of that?
Yes.
Yeah, there's some portions of the zoning ordinance that specifically talk to stormwater infrastructure and so forth, and it has kind of a little bit of a conflict with that in the stormwater ordinance. So we're looking to probably pare back what's in the zoning ordinance and defer mainly to the stormwater ordinance, particularly when we're talking about infrastructure and its location for stormwater management.
Yeah, a lot of the technical information, yeah, keep that in stormwater ordinance, but anything like that you need it for a site plan, can just do it by reference in the zoning ordinance. So we'll take a look at that at some point here soon.
Any other questions or comments? All right, let's move on to item 6 on our agenda. Old business, and we'll start with PD 2026-19, Swan View Special Use Permit, findings of fact.
All right, so, this is the third meeting you've seen this at. In December, the introduction, and last month, the public hearing for this property is on Wysong Road, kind of on the southwest edge of Boardman Lake. And the proposal is for a commercial district housing development of 10 units on this property between 1 and 2 acres. And the access is from Wysong Road, which goes down to South Airport Road here. And of course, the screen goes right at that time. Couple comments, just staff comments since the last meeting, because we did have a couple, like, not necessarily conditions, but just items that were noted when Planning Commission made the motion to direct staff to prepare the findings of fact. They did submit the escrow application for engineering, and we did get some initial comments from the engineer, both in terms of stormwater and in terms of they have a proposed path and the deck. The deck would be around here, and the path would go kind of around the proposed dwelling units, and then the stormwater was more up to the front. So they're still working through all the full technical review, but we did at least get some initial comments that it at least seems there was no major red flags, like the way it's designed, like other than just maybe tweaking some things per numbers, if anything. But otherwise, the layout seems like it should work. We also, they clarified a few things that were just on the site plan. And then noted the shoreline regulation, both that and both the setback for buildings and the riparian vegetative buffer. Otherwise, the bulk of the report is the draft findings of fact themselves, along with draft motions, but I should also say the applicants are here as well if you have any other questions. Oh, also, I forgot, they mentioned a letter from Otwell Mobby on the environmental that was provided and is included in your packet as well. Again, no major red flags seen, but just some additional information that some things were vetted as part of that. But applicants are here as well if there's any questions.
I just have one question. So on the completeness review, there's a checkbox for the township engineer that includes the stormwater, but I see the note in here that we're still missing information, and then I see the recommended action that we're still requiring approval. So does that checkbox, is that actually a not satisfied at this point?
I think it's more that they submitted it. The check is to submit. Yeah, we probably should just either not check it or leave it blank or somehow indicate that it's under review. But the fact that they did submit it. And then, yeah, the standard language that we have, that's partly why we do that in the standard language, is to have, so if there's any sort of engineering details or any other agency has something that's relevant to them as part of it. So they may finish up here, but finish all of those before they get to land use permit, which is across the hall. So good clarification, though. That is not as clear the way it's written.
I'll make the motion unless somebody else has something to talk about. For the findings of fact for application SUP 2025-03 as presented in the Planning Department Report 2026-19 and being made a part of this motion be adopted.
Support.
We have a motion by Robertson and support by Augustinelli. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. Motion passes.
Thank you all.
And I'll make the
Just one
motion
step.
that
One more motion.
One more
but-
motion.
Yeah, but you can sit down.
that application SUP 2025-03 submitted by Boardman Triple J LLC for a special use permit for the commercial district housing development at 3350 Wysong Road, parcel 05-015-062-30 be approved subject to the following conditions 1 through 6 in Planning Department Report 2026-19.
And support.
We have a motion by Robertson, support by Augustinelli. Is there any further discussion? John?
Just another maybe clarification on the point that Cara just mentioned about the engineering review and approval. The email that was sent back to staff by the engineer on February 3rd, sounds like there's several things that are missing or they didn't provide this or that information. Do we need to do anything specific about that, or is that all subsumed under condition 2 about final review and approval by the engineer? Can we rely on the engineer? He's not going to give us approval till he sees everything he needs to see.
Correct, yeah. And even with the updated stormwater ordinance, it actually is now even a stormwater permit. So like that would not be issued unless engineer has signed off on everything.
So then there's just a revised stormwater ordinance. The permitting process is still the same.
I think it's more actually even like more formalized. We had often relied on even just a final letter from our township engineer, so actually just formalizing it into a permit was part of that process.
Perhaps, I don't know that we necessarily need to do it for this one then, but maybe the language should reflect the need for a permit.
That should be obtained prior to a land use permit or something to that effect.
I mean,
yeah.
it more or less says approval.
Yeah.
It's our past practice, and maybe our future practice could then,
It could, yeah,
Technically, the township engineer doesn't issue the permit, they kind of give their approval, and then the zoning administrator issues the stormwater permit.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, we can
right.
maybe indicate
That's a
that
good
little
point,
bit,
yeah.
And
so it's clear.
They can't obtain a building permit unless all the land use and the stormwater permits have
Correct.
been
Yep,
approved.
land use is first
Right.
before building of those two.
Yeah, they kind of coincide, land use and building, but
Yeah.
certainly the zoning administrator is not going to issue the land use permit without the stormwater permit.
Correct.
you satisfied, John?
Okay. That's a good question, though, yeah.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, nay. Motion passes. All right. Now you guys are good. Thank you.
Yeah. We'll follow up with both of you tomorrow. There's a report and decision order that documents this. We'll send it to the Plan Commission Chair. Chris will be sending that to you tomorrow morning. We drafted it, so we'll follow up on the kind of remaining steps. So. All right, thanks.
All right. We are done with old business and moving on to new business. First on the new business list is item A, PD 2026-20, Marengo 31 Special Use Permit Major Amendment, and this is an introduction.
Yeah, so the Marengo 31 Commercial District Housing Development was approved by the Planning Commission as a special use permit back on December 6, 2021. There was an extension granted in October of '23, and then construction commenced in 2024 on the site, which is basically two 30-unit apartment buildings located on McHale Boulevard, south of the intersection of South Airport and 31, kind of back at the east side of the Baymont Inn off of US 31. So that was approved as a commercial district housing. The zoning for this particular site is the CH Commercial Highway, so commercial district housing developments are permitted as a special use permit in that commercial highway district. The applicant is interested in allowing for rentals less than 30 days. In accordance with the ordinance, that would be what is considered to be a short-term situation. The only use that the township allows for short-term rentals is through a hotel use. So hotel uses are permitted by right in the commercial highway district. This, though, because it's introducing a new use to the site, according to the Section 423 of the ordinance, it would be considered a major amendment. So essentially adding an additional use to the site. So it doesn't change the site in terms of its site plan, which was approved. So that pretty much all stays intact. There are some supplemental regulations that go with hotels in Section 750 of the ordinance. All of those, based on our review, are exceeded based on the design of the two apartment buildings. We also did just check with the parking, and it's pretty much still within that range in terms of what's provided for that particular site. So this would be a major amendment going through the process to be considered to include, while it's mentioned as a hotel use, it's technically would still kind of function as a apartment complex, which just happens to have some rentals that are less than 30 days. So it's the applicants here as well.
John?
Yeah, ordinarily, I wouldn't address anything about this at an introduction, since there's going to be a public hearing next month. I'm going to be gone next month. I won't be at the public hearing. My first reaction is not positive. Seems to me that when this was approved 5 years ago, it was an addition to the housing stock that the whole region needs, including our township. And there's X number of units that are meant to be made available for people to live in. And I am not crazy about the idea of converting some of those scarce units into things that are not going to be available for people to live in long-term, and instead just become transient housing. It looks to me like it's sort of a backdoor way of getting around the short-term rental prohibition in the township. Those are my primary concerns. I hate to see the housing stock decreased. I understand that perhaps if somebody had come and looked for a hotel, if it fit within the criteria in that zoning classification, it could be there, but what was sold to us was an apartment complex, and so those are my thoughts on that.
Kara?
Got kind of some similar thoughts. So when I saw this, I went to our zoning definitions and looked at hotel and motel. And to me, so this is Kara's thought, is one distinguishing characteristic of a hotel is staff on site, somebody's greeting you. Like that's a differentiator between a hotel and like a short-term rental. Our zoning definition doesn't call that out. It just says they may offer additional services. But the vacation home rental is a commercial use of a residential dwelling where the dwelling is rented or sold for any term less than 30 consecutive days. So I would argue that if you take a building that was fundamentally developed as a residential building and you're commercializing it for rentals less than 30 days, it now meets the vacation home rental criteria. So I'm of the same mindset of you generally. I think that the language is a little bit muddy. But I think potentially mixing those uses within a building even is incompatible. I might feel differently if it was more of like a month to month, so sort of longer than the 30 days, but I think that this opens a can of worms potentially.
Anyone else with thoughts?
I have no opposition to this getting set for public hearing, but I just wanted people to at least hear my thoughts, because you're not going to hear them next month.
We want to ask the applicant to step up to the podium and make a statement and ask him any questions.
Thank you for giving us an opportunity to come here and present. But to clear up any confusion, we're still a full multifamily property. That's all we're looking to do. The idea came to our mind was when we dealt with a doctor in the Ann Arbor area who happens to be an autoimmune specialist, and she was coming up here to Traverse City to work with a local doctor, and she wasn't thrilled about coming up here. And I said, what's the reason? She doesn't like to stay in hotels. We're definitely not a hotel. But she also doesn't like Airbnbs and those type of short-term rentals. In other parts of the country, you have apartment-style hotels. They're apartments, 100% apartments, treated like apartments. They're not meant to decrease the housing market, but you do have a certain demographic that doesn't like to go rent a condo, from a random person, but also doesn't want to be in a hotel room because maybe they have a dog, maybe they need a full kitchen, et cetera, et cetera. So we're thankful for whatever. I mean, at this point right now, we're almost done with the buildings. We're finishing up our cabinets and flooring as we speak. So this time next month, we should have residents moving in. But considering that I grew up in a family with a lot of medical background, including my sister, my mom, et cetera, et cetera. This was a close friend of ours that was a doctor, and they were coming up here to work with, she's an autoimmune specialist, world renowned. And I said, well, what if there was an apartment style, kind of a hotel, a little bit higher end? I don't know if you guys have seen much about our project, but it's higher end finishes, higher end floors, countertops, cabinets. So we're definitely not competing with your hotels. I just want to be crystal clear on that. So I'm happy to answer any questions, but I believe currently we could already do, is it Kara? Sorry. Kara. Currently we already can do 30-day per the, right, if I understand?
That would be considered, yeah. Anything less than 30 days is short-term, longer is already long-term, which is what would be an apartment anyway.
Right, so anything over 30 days we could technically already do.
Say long-term rental.
I thought it was when I looked it up.
Yeah.
I apologize if I'm mistaken, but
Long-term is
Yep,
30.
long-term, in relation to the occupancy of a building or dwelling unit, any period of 30 or more consecutive days. Yep.
right. This was an individual that worked at Ann Arbor, University of Michigan Hospital. So that's kind of where the idea came to mind. I said it'd be nice to have the flexibility of both, but we're multi-family is our goal. So hopefully that helps add a little clarity and put some of your concerns at ease. I don't know if
Are
there's any.
all of the units that are already built are going to be rented as long-term apartments? Are they owned all by you? None of them have been sold to anybody as
This
condos?
project, we didn't sell the units because they're not officially condos. That's a different project of itself. You have to deed them all separately. So no, these were never designed as condos. They were apartments.
So they're all owned by one entity?
One entity, yes, sir.
Okay.
Molly?
So this is not going to be a hotel? Is that what you're saying?
We're not your standard hotel, as if when you walk in, you have someone at the front desk, from that perspective.
Okay.
So we are asking for hotel zoning, but it's not your standard. It's not like a Hilton, if that makes sense.
Will you be limiting, for example, your doctor that's coming up here? Will you be limiting those units to minimum of 30 days? Are you going to go in and you can stay here for 3 nights and go to the next one?
This doctor needed something around a week and a half.
Yeah.
That was the reason we sought after this.
I'm talking about all these units now.
Well, for me to add a little clarity, one of the buildings, the first building that we're delivering, the one closest to the hotel, that's all 100% multifamily. We've already got leases on it. So we already have tenants moving in next month.
What percentage are you planning for?
10% is what we're assuming.
10%?
That's what we're assuming, yeah.
Short-term rentals.
Right. And we're not targeting the vacationers. Actually, ideally, we'd like to have a contract with University of Michigan, the medical. That's literally what we're actually going after.
If it's a contract with an entity, do you rent it out to that entity for longer than 30 days or not?
So Ben, you're a very intelligent individual. Technically, we could find a workaround if we had to. I'd rather be more transparent and not, we're not trying to do that, because then I don't want a bad reputation with the county long-term. Does that make sense? But yes, if we absolutely had to, we can get around it with just the multifamily. But again, as I'm being honest and transparent with you guys, we don't want to do that. We like, John and Steve have been awesome to work with for many years, and I mean that wholeheartedly. So we're trying to do it the right way. Plus, we have other development plans in Traverse City and Garfield. So we'd rather do it the right way. But technically, yes, Ben, we could sign a contract for, longer than 30 days. However, keep in mind, not every specialist is coming from University of Michigan, right? So you could have a, foot specialist that's maybe coming up for a conference. There's a lot of medical conferences starting to happen up here. There was one other, I was actually at it, at the Grand. I forgot what it was called, but anyway, there was one out there a few months back, so.
But unless it's a hotel, you can't rent it for 3 days.
Right. That's the problem. Especially where we're at, and it's ironic because we share a driveway with the hotel next door. So we're not disturbing anyone. To refresh everybody's memory, when we brought this project to the county, we actually own 17 acres. We're only using about 2.5. And we decided to keep the others, although a lot of other developers said I was crazy. They said you have a lot more land you could take advantage of. We don't want to do that because we actually like having more of a park setting. And so we're so far off the highway, we're not disturbing any other neighbors. We already share a drive with a hotel. So we didn't think it would be that big of an issue to get the hotel accommodation, or approval, I should say.
So will you be paying tax or hotel tax or on the rooms that you're renting less than 30 days?
I believe so, but you're asking the wrong. I've guys way smarter than me, Joe. I don't know the tax stuff.
Was there such a thing as in Garfield Township, the hotels have to pay a hotel tax, don't they? Or-
No, there's not a tax. There's a room assessment fee that's done through Traverse City Tourism, and that's that would be under their jurisdiction.
Would
I don't
these
know.
people have to be involved with that, or would that be?
I don't know. That's through Traverse City Tourism. And it's not a tax. It's a room assessment fee. It's through whatever state law allows them to collect that room assessment fee. That's something that they'll have to work with.
Yeah.
Traverse City Tourism on.
We use one of the big 10 accounting firms, so I'm sure they'll have us structured the right way before we go live.
So related question to that, so you said building 1 is pretty much leased up, folks are going to be moving in. So building 2 are a set, say floor 1, just for example, those units are going to be for this purpose and the remainder are leased, or will there be flexibility back and forth between that depending on vacancies?
Good question. I don't know if we've thought that far along. Currently, sure, we would say maybe just the first floor we would do that with, but obviously if the hospital down south or some of the other, other individuals want to rent, because I don't know if you guys have done, I'm sure you have, but other cities have more of this apartment style hotel. I actually looked, I didn't find any in Garfield, unless I'm mistaken. I think I found one in TC or 2.
Are they kind of like the extended stay?
A little bit nicer than that, but yes. But I'm talking like full kitchen for like.
Yeah, like full-blown looks like apartments.
Right.
Otherwise.
Yeah, in Phoenix, Scottsdale, they're very popular.
Okay.
And I told her, I was like, why don't you stay in we've got a Holiday Inn came out with a really higher end version.
Okay.
They've got one right by the Fairmont Princess in North Scottsdale.
Okay.
And, they're like 2-bedroom condos, but it's all one property. So I did a little research and I didn't see any up here.
Yeah.
So it kind of threw me. I was like, wait a minute, this might be a big. And again, we were having dinner. It was brought to me by a doctor.
Right.
So I was like, this might be a good idea. Maybe a nice addition for Garfield.
So I hear you saying, and it's 10% of the first building you were getting ready to open up?
No.
Or 10% of both buildings?
Collectively, 10%, so maybe 6 to 7 units is what we're
6 to
thinking.
7 units out of all your units. And they would be in one block or interspersed? So, and I'm asking in the context of, would we have a a long-term tenant, I'm trying to get a sense of, would the long-term tenant prefer that they're all in one area, that the short-term renters are all in one area, or interspersed amongst them?
Again, we haven't put much thought into it. Currently, we are thinking about just keeping them all in one corridor, all in one stairwell. So that way they're not interspersed. But, you know, if the demand's not there in a year, I mean, we'll probably just go back to full multifamily, right? But right now, we are thinking about just putting it all on one corridor.
But if you had then greater demand for it, you might expand it. And then my question to staff would be, how could it be? Because the concern starts to be, it doesn't work, it goes back to long-term rentals, no big deal. It works really well, and you expand it. And it's one thing to have it for the, let's say, professionals that are coming to our community and they're staying for short periods of time, and it's a home away from home. It's another thing if it just becomes hotel, STR, and how does it, because I hear you saying,
Absolutely.
I don't want to do Airbnb, VRBO, that's not the clientele I'm looking for, but you as the owner sell it, and then the next owner looks at it and says, hey, I want to flip completely to VRBO, and slowly, runs out the leases of all their tenants, and this becomes a hotel, a short-term rental hotel, I guess.
Sure. Well, there's a few reasons why we couldn't do that. Due to our current financing with the bank, in the next 10 years, we couldn't do it. I think we could only have a small percentage of short-term rental, but that's not the thing that I would say should put your mind at ease. What should put your mind at ease is we're not competing with the individuals are just renting their condos out, because as you know, in Traverse City, there's multiple condo owners that have leased out or have done short-term rental, right?
Sure.
Our price point is going to be higher than a lot of those folks, so we are looking for the professionals. We're not really, this isn't a $200-300 a night kind of a short-term rental. We are focusing more on the medical and professional community.
I understand your business model,
Yeah.
and what you're saying is somewhat appealing to consider. However, I'm not sure, I think staff needs to look at, and we need to understand how the arrangement can be approached, that it's kind of limited within that context, and that, again, you could sell your whole development, close out your bank loan, and the next person who takes over operation next year, my concern is that they could take what we've allowed and run it out to its full capability. So we need to figure out how to make that work.
One more thing I would add is if we wanted to do a hotel, right, because I'm sure you guys know when you build apartments, they're significantly more expensive than building a hotel. If that was our goal, we would have just gone for hotel zoning from the beginning. That was never our goal, and nor is it today. And I get what you're saying, that someone can buy it and flip it and go that direction. However, this isn't the best location for a hotel, if that makes sense. You'd want significantly more visibility. And we've owned hotels. We actually own a hotel in downtown Boston. We've ran the numbers. I actually think you're getting too many hotels up here, in my opinion, because if you look at the costs per night, they're actually starting to get compressed in certain areas. There's so many being delivered. So yeah, that's not our model, but I do get what you're saying. I mean, there isn't much I could say. I guess I could put your mind at ease, but we're more of a multi-family firm, less of a short-term hotel kind of a company.
I think it comes down to, because this is a special use permit?
Well, there's a special use permit for the commercial district housing development, in other words, the apartments, but the hotel is a use by right. I will say, though, if you were looking to say, restrict it to a certain percentage, I think it's going to be impossible to enforce or to understand what that would be. So to us, it's a use by right, it's permitted. It's no different than the Baymont right next door could flip and become apartments. They could convert that to apartments. So it's in a commercial district. It's the short-term rental prohibition in Garfield is in residential neighborhoods. If we were to allow them, this is the best form that we would consider them as transient lodging versus non-transient in terms of apartments.
You know, the reason it came before the planning commission as an amendment to the special use permit was to have both uses coexisting on one site. But the special use is the housing, because this is a highway commercial district. What's being alluded to is that if that were abandoned completely and the application was just for a hotel, that would be a use by right or by special conditions that would have been reviewed administratively, like some of the other hotels, or the site plan would have been reviewed, but otherwise would not have been subject to special use
But if it's a use,
permit. Yeah.
if the hotel use is a use by right,
Mm-hmm.
then,
Because in the section 423, which is the special use permit section, a major amendment applies when you introduce a new land use. Doesn't matter whether the land use is another special use permit use or if it's a use by right. So that's what triggers the
Yeah.
major amendment process.
so it's a
that way.
major amendment, and as a major amendment, we could condition a special use, which we already had a special use process for the residential apartments, the long-term apartments. And you're saying that if the special use permit is modified to allow another use, and that use is a use by right, then there's no context within the ordinance to condition the use by right within the special use permit.
That's a good question. I think you potentially could address it as overall special use permit, but yeah, technically, it's a use, hotels in this district, commercial highway district, are used by right. There's nothing, other than some special conditions that relate to its design and so forth, it's not necessarily applying to the same standards as a special use permit.
So I understand what the applicant's saying in terms of what the market and what they're, the short-term housing that they're looking to provide. But it strikes me that if we open it up, even though I understand the market doesn't suggest that there's a reason why it would all go short-term rental, it does set a precedent where we might be compelled to have to do this elsewhere. So I'd like you guys to explore if it can be conditioned in such a way to be limited to what the applicant seems to really be going after. That's just my thought, but I'm ready to advance it to a public hearing. Molly?
Well, you could only do it if it's in an area, a zoning classification that allowed for a hotel.
Right.
So it's not like everybody can come in and say, well, I want short-term rentals because they got them. Hotels are short-term rentals.
True.
That's what they are. And so he's asking to make this a hotel, whether he rents it for 30 days or 60 days or 2 nights. It's all hotel. That's what we're looking at making the change on.
And John and Steve, if I remember correctly, even back when Mansfield did it, they proposed, why not? He's like, you could just do a hotel here, right? Like, so the special use, from what I remember, was just for the multifamily.
Correct. Yep.
So in other words, to answer your question, Chris, a little bit earlier, if I sold tomorrow, which we're not, someone can just cancel the multifamily special use permit and make it all hotel anyway.
I have
At least the way I understood it. I apologize if I'm
No,
mistaken.
that's what, yeah.
I have another concern. Are hotels and multifamily a different building classification per the building code? And what does the fire department have to say about this? I know hotels are slightly a higher standard of care than multifamily because you have people interchanging or coming in to a new place every day. So if it's built as a multifamily, it's not up to that hotel standard. So if you change it during the building process, the fire department might have a concern about that, and that's something that does affect the township.
This is new and interesting to have an architect on our commission.
And that could be easily a condition of should there be an approval to have those reviews done by Metro Fire and the building department, so forth. I mean, and that would be something that would probably be wise for the applicant to address that before proceeding much farther, just to make sure. We did consult with the building department. It didn't seem like that was an issue, but again, I'm not representing them. I'm just trying to get them initially to see if there would be anything different. The building code looks, and I'm not an architect or anything, but just from my understanding, it looks as a apartment building as a commercial use.
Kara?
Can you help me explain? So I understand use by right, hotel, commercial district, got it. But then there was the special use permit, planted a flag in the ground that says this is now residential property. You've got the residential multifamily component, of which 90% is intended to stay residential multifamily, and 10% is going to be something else that we're saying is a hotel, but to me is meeting the definition in the zoning language for a vacation home rental, which is not allowable.
So I guess when I look at the ordinance, I look at vacation home rental as kind of more of like a single-family residential dwelling, where the apartment it talks about transient. So an apartment definition is a non-transient lodging. A hotel is to accommodate transient lodging. So I thought those were kind of more parallel, where a vacation home rental is what you typically, if you rent like a Vrbo or an Airbnb, is like a standalone residential dwelling.
So does that mean if I own an attached condo, townhome, duplex in Garfield Township, that I could use that as a vacation home rental?
Well, vacation home rentals are defined, but they are not permitted anywhere in the ordinance.
That's kind of where I'm going. We have a building that's going to be 90% residential use and 10% transient use that we're calling hotel, but to me, it feels a lot like a vacation home. So I guess, to your point, it can go to public hearing. We've got more time to talk and think about it. But
I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying.
I have one more, and then if I have one more comment, Molly, then we talked about a similar short-term rental for doctors associated with Copper Ridge. And I don't want to, I think we're ready to make a motion, but if you guys could also kind of review where that landed, and if it has any context in this situation, and, bring it back to us next month. I think that would be helpful to the discussion. And Molly, if you want to make that motion, then.
Well, just to comment, I think the key is in that zoning classification, where we allow that, where we don't allow it. So,
I have one question before the motion, if you don't.
go ahead.
So right now, if they were starting from scratch, or if they wanted to, they had one building done, but the other one wasn't started yet, they could start, or they could cancel, let's just say they had one done, and then they would cancel their special use permit, and then they could go back tomorrow on the use by right and build what they want to build now. If they hadn't already started the building, they would be fine to go and build it by right, to do what they want to do.
Yeah, I mean, if they wanted to go through a process of converting that over to a hotel, they could. From a zoning standpoint, I'm not talking about building code.
But they would just have to,
Yeah.
right, okay.
Yeah, from a land use standpoint, yeah, they could convert that to a hotel.
But if they had half of it built on half of their special use permit done, and then they decided to abandon it, and then they could get this permit by right to do what they want to do.
For just the remainder of it?
Yes, for the one building that they built.
I mean, we'd have to take a look at that, how that would be. I mean, like I said, inherently they're allowed it as a use by right. So it's not like there's anything additional requirements to it. It's kind of an administrative review function. The way you're talking about splitting it, all that, I don't know, we'd have to take a look at that, see how that would be best approached from the standpoint of keeping the special use permit intact on one part of the property and the hotel use on the other property.
Okay.
How do you
the
do that
other
if it's
part
all
of it.
one parcel?
Yeah, it's all one parcel. I don't know, that's.
Okay,
we
I just
have-
wonder if
yeah.
a special use permit ever don't get built out all the way and then it changes, because
Yeah.
going back to use by right on the part that didn't get used, how that would work. Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Okay, everybody ready? Okay, I will make the motion that application SUP 2021-03-A submitted by Danny McHale for a special use permit amendment to include a hotel use at 3275, 3281, 3293, 3321, and 333 and 341 McHale Boulevard, parcel 05-021-065-00, be accepted and scheduled for a public hearing for the March 11th, 2026 Planning Commission meeting.
Support.
We have a motion by Augustinelli with support by Robertson. Is there any further discussion, as if we haven't had enough already? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, nay? The motion passes. Danny, thank you. The Planning Commission's discussion on this issue was very vigorous, and I appreciate that you've brought this, and we think we've challenged staff to research some more stuff.
Yep.
And look forward to the public hearing and seeing you in a month.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks.
All right, we're moving on to item B, PD 2026-21, Beta and TCHC Transit-Oriented Mixed-Use PUD Minor Amendment.
So this is a application to address some of the building heights. This is for the Beta Traverse City Housing Commission Transit-Oriented Mixed-Use Land Unit Development, which is, this is the portion, the residential phase, which is off of Lafreniere Road, just north of Hammond. This is a part of the development in the PUD where it's several apartment buildings, and there was initially the apartment buildings that were approved for this, there's 5 of them. They were all to be at a height of 40 feet. Back in '23, there was some adjustment to those heights that was approved as a minor amendment. There was also the addition of the clubhouse that was an added amenity to the development. So this is now a request to revisit some of the heights. From my understanding, the story mix is still the same. It's going to be that the heights of them are changed a little bit. So there are 3 buildings that will go back to the original 40 feet that was approved back in the original PUD in '21. And then there's 2 other remaining buildings that would be increased by 5 feet to a total height of 50 feet. And these are flat roofed buildings that's being proposed. Right now, I think building 1 and 2 are the ones that are built, so it's 3, 4, and 5 that are yet to be constructed. There's also a request to adjust on the height of the clubhouse from 16 to 20 feet. So Carl Fulmer from the Housing Commission is here this evening as well.
Any questions from the commission? John?
Just curious to know why the changes are coming in at this stage.
Hi, thank you. Well, I can tell you this, our design group, which is Progressive Architects out of Grand Rapids, it appears they had something in mind for the building height for the first 2 buildings, which currently exist, and they overlooked the 36 feet that they had proposed, and they designed them at 40 feet. We've had great success at leasing those buildings. I wish I had a better explanation, but that's it in a nutshell. And there's been some pretty terse conversations between ownership and our design team. But they'd like to continue with the design that we used in the first phase with the second, third, and fourth phases. And so that's why the request is here.
Is that also true with the clubhouse building to go from? 16
Apparently
to 20,
so,
same
yes,
restaurant?
yes.
You know, one of the things that we look at, so in a PUD, it does give you some ability to flex on dimensional standards such as height. One thing we did also look at is setbacks. So these are, they have fairly big setbacks from the nearest property line, which would be to the north. On the 40-foot buildings, the 3 of those are set back 105 feet. The other 2 buildings would be at 170 and 190 feet. So there is no provision for it in this particular district, but we do have some flexibility in commercial and industrial districts when you go far exceed the setback, you're allowed to step up, increasing in height. I think 50 feet is like pretty much the max. We don't have any district. The planned shopping center is the max height in any of our districts at 50 feet. Any heights of these would need FAA review as well, sign-off permits and so forth from the airport.
Does that include this site or not?
Does it include this site?
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
It's not in the, we went through that same review for the first phase. We have another project in the city of Traverse City on 8th Street called Parkview. We just opened those senior apartments. That's in kind of the flight zone and is open to far more stringent requirements from the airport authority. This site doesn't seem to be that the case. We had FAA review for the first phase.
Yeah, we recommend that anytime you're going above 20 feet to register with them. It's not necessarily like you're going to, you know, have to get a review, architectural review or anything of that nature, but it's just something that we advise, and it's mentioned in the ordinance as well.
So I think I understood that the designers didn't reduce the height of the buildings to 36 as was desired. And, you know, I see it fairly reasonable to just say, okay, we can go back to the 40. But the 50 represents an increase from what was approved before. And so explain again why?
Well, the way the interior of the units, we have some smaller units. These apartments have 9-foot ceilings, and so it does create more of a spacious atmosphere for the tenants to live in. We have a lot of studio units presently, and they're 450 square feet. You walk into a studio with 9-foot ceilings at 450 square feet, it does make a difference rather than an 8-foot or slightly below 8-foot ceiling. I think that's what they're trying to accommodate by boosting the 4-story building to 50 feet or up to 50 feet.
So
It might come in at 48 feet. They just said the safe number's 50.
So it's not, we're not getting any more units, we're not getting an additional floor, it's just the floor to ceiling heights are a little bit bigger than what you had originally intended.
That's correct.
Okay, I understand, thank you.
And this studio, 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom mix, the units are 100 studios, 70 1-bedroom, and 40 2-bedroom. That hasn't, that's was part of the original approval.
You wanted to say something, Ben?
Oh, yeah, should have looked at the drawings to remind myself. Do you have rooftop units?
No, we do not. Rooftop units?
Like HVAC?
Oh, yes, yes.
Equipment?
Part of that max height is a parapet wall that blocks the view of the
Okay.
mechanical.
So to staff, would we, okay in a regular district at 50 foot, as long as they were if they were this far away from the property line, like you mentioned? Because you said they were on them 2 units.
Would you?
In a normal
Like an
district.
R3 district?
In R3.
No.
We couldn't do that in an R3.
Are you
even
saying
they're
if
that
it
far
met
away.
the, if it met the height exception the further setback.
With a
from
further
that section.
setback, like they
So
are.
that's only applied in commercial and industrial districts. So I guess potentially if it was a commercial district housing development in a commercial district, they could do the setback where they can step up, increase it based on the, to
was-
raise the height up on that. But in an R3 district, no.
How tall are the units across the street?
Good question.
I don't know. I think they're 3-story units, so I'm not sure offhand. I think those are gable end type roofs. They're not, I don't think they're flat, so it's hard to tell, right, but
I'm just trying to think in the context of an additional 5 feet.
Yeah.
If the gabled roofs are across the street are the same, are as tall or nearly as tall, then it doesn't create too much of a context. I don't know. Anybody else have any other thoughts? John?
I don't have any problem with what's been proposed. I was just curious to know why, after all these years have gone by, we're talking 3 or 4 more feet, and I couldn't figure out there are no more stories. I didn't understand, but I picked up on what staff's telling us. The extra height on those 2 buildings are buildings that are way far away from anybody else's property line, so. And it's a PUD where we do have some flexibility, including on dimensional. So personally, I have no problems with what they're proposing to do. I might if the exact same proposal was put somewhere else, but I don't here.
Okay. Any other thoughts? Anybody like to make a motion?
I'll make the motion that the findings of fact for application PUD 2020-02-E included in PD report 2026-21 and forming part of this motion be approved.
Second.
We have a motion from Robertson, support from Yuli. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, nay? The motion passes.
And I'll make a motion that the application PUD 2020-02-E submitted by the Traverse City Housing Commission to change the height of the multifamily residential building for the Beta TCHC transit-oriented mixed-use PUD on parcels 05-524-001-00 and 05-023-042-41 be approved with the following conditions in PD report, which, I don't know where I put that.
I think it's just 1 and 2, following conditions 1 and 2.
1 and 2, okay.
In PD report 2026-21.
Yeah,
That's what
okay.
you were looking for, I
Yes,
think, Joel.
somewhere in here.
That's all right, yeah.
Sorry about that.
I'll support that.
There we go.
All right, motion by Robertson, support by Racine. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? The motion passes.
Thank you.
All right, and with that, we are ready to move on to new business, item C, PD 2026-22, Veliket Family Residence, MUN's rezone introduction.
Figure where it's in the packet. Zoom into on the map, and this we need the zoning district on. So there are a lot of plan sheets in that. Okay. So this site is 3479 Veterans Drive, just basically around the corner. And it's one that the Planning Commission has in recent memory actually seen for a rezoning. We'll give it some background on it, but applicants proposing to rezone from office commercial to mixed-use neighborhood. Notably, the mixed-use neighborhood that was just created, so this will be the first application to rezone to it. It's very exciting, at least for us. So the report has kind of some of the basic things with the excerpts from master plan, including this is being on Veterans Drive, Rennie Hill. This was identified as a mixed-use area, so this has its description and guiding principles along with it. And also comments that the zoning plan says all the mixed-use neighborhood areas, the zoning may be determined by compatibility with zoning of the surrounding area. In this case, we actually created a district kind of with this corridor in mind. Some experts from zoning plan, the actual zoning ordinance. So it's currently zoned office commercial. Some surrounding ones are R1, one family. There's some local commercial is CL. That is a typo. Sorry about that. And some R3 multifamily across the other side of Veterans Drive as well. So some background that staff we wanted to provide. So in 2020, the previous owners of the site did a rezoning application. At the time, it was R1, and they did the rezoning to office commercial. The structure has been a single-family residential structure. Previous owners owned it at the time. It was vacant at the time. The previous owner had passed away. This was more the trust or the estate of the kids of that family. They wished to market it with office, and when we reviewed it, the findings of fact in there said that even though it didn't match the future land use of the master plan that was in force at the time, there were other kind of factors. As when we review rezoning, there's 8 factors, and it says no one is controlling. So we looked at kind of the whole corridor. There's other office uses. There's other things that had at the time future land use of professional office. Master plan also had a goal at the time to continue to encourage and incentivize infill development, and the new master plan kind of has a similar sentiment. We also, in that discussion, there was noted in some of those staff reports and as part of the discussion that Planning Commission should, in this case, we amended the entire master plan, but especially wanted to address the Veterans Drive corridor. So that was part of the reason for doing the mixed-use neighborhood designation in that current master plan. And ultimately, we cited that the corridor has a mix of office, single-family residential, multifamily residential, institutional, and planning for that entire corridor would allow a more cohesive vision, and that's kind of what the mixed-use neighborhood district, which grew out of that master plan, did. So this is this is the introduction. Applicant is here as well to answer any questions. But yeah, it's a brief overview.
What's the commission's pleasure? John?
Unless there's questions, I'd be prepared to make a motion.
My only question was it the staff's recommendation to change this to a mixed use instead of back to R1 or residential?
I think it was in looking at, and at the time we looked at it, which led into the master plan update, was that this whole corridor has just kind of a mix of things, and they've all essentially coexisted. And I think the idea of having a mixed-use district is rather than look at each parcel individually, it just sort of would allow the flexibility of, all right, since all of these exist on this corridor, if there's one district that allowed all of these things, if things start changing hands, someone could propose something that would make sense on the corridor, but the zoning would be kind of in place to do that. Rather than going back to R1, which would essentially kind of be more restrictive, even though that's what the structure on the site is and has looked like for a while.
Steve, when did we finalize that, that new zoning classification?
That was, I think the board adopted it last month.
Yeah, last month,
Yeah.
January.
So that has taken effect, yeah.
And Nels and his wife appeared during our proceedings in consideration of that several times, with an interest in doing exactly what they're doing as soon as we had arrived at that, creating that new district.
Yeah, I think this corridor really lends itself because of in terms of allowing for quite a good mixture because of we have to go either multifamily, single-family, office, local commercial, it's really, it's already a mix for the most part. And we didn't want to restrict people the ability to, if they wanted to have both like residential or commercial on properties and so forth. Really kind of the scale of the corridor, a lot of the existing structures that are in place are really going to kind of limit some of that, the size of the parcels and so forth.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, that's a good question. I kind of just noted one thing when I was reviewing this and looking at the map. There's one other office commercial zoned property just in this vicinity, and I believe it's owned by the same applicant? Okay. Was it your intention to only rezone the one that's in the?
Just, yeah, for now.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, this all started last summer when I came in for a zoning variance application to remodel the house. And we found out that the house is a non-conforming use in commercial office. So in terms of sort of cleaning up, staff said, hey, we do have this mixed-use idea that was approved in the last master plan, and we get some language for it. So we've kind of been walking along with that entire process. Basically because we weren't allowed to make any alterations to our house, even though it was a residence and it was in the commercial, yada, yada. So I think the mixed use, and we've supported this from the beginning. You know, this corridor really lends itself to a mixed use. I would love to see a sidewalk and some other improvements, you know, further down the line. But basically, yeah, we ended up here because we can't do anything to our house otherwise. And if we were to rezone it, we split the properties, and staff was very good at working through all this with us. So I think in general, from a planning perspective, mixed-use neighborhood makes sense here, especially, I'm just going to keep pitching if we can get a sidewalk. We have and you don't really know until you live in a particular place. The neighborhood is quite obvious when you put it in a color like that. Single family on one side, multifamily on the other. A lot of people live in this neighborhood. We don't have an easy way to get to the bus stop, which is on Albany Street. We don't have any safe way to walk in the wintertime on a very nice, wide, fast county road. So I'm pitching a little bit while I'm here now, but like I think this type of change in the zoning helps push that forward. We really do need good sidewalks, and we need some different traffic control measures through there would be nice, but I'm not going to go completely off the deep end. I'd like a safe way to get to the bus stop. So yeah, basically we're here because we want to renovate the house. Ultimately, we were drawn to this property because of the size of the property, the amount of woods that are on it, and the fact that it had commercial application for any kind of potential school / daycare center, whatever you want to call it, community space, but of course then residents can't get changed. All those other things were available. So the mixed-use neighborhood really marries what I think we want to do in this neighborhood, is create something that's a little bit more walkable, a little bit more scalable. So for us right now, the bottom line is the family's getting bigger. Baby's at home right now, or I would have brought her as a prop. She's been going to sleep about 7:30. Yeah. Any other questions, happy to answer it. But, from a planning perspective, I think it's just a smart thing for Garfield Township to do. And we just happen to be two of the we're the first test case, but as an office commercial goes, same thing. That and this gets really fun when we have things delivered to either 3479 or 3541. You got to remember the different digits for the different houses, but 3541, historically, it has a pole barn and a house on it. That there had been various businesses run out of the barn over the years. Heating and cooling, I think, was the original one. But, also a house there and a mix of potential uses on that same property that exist, but you can't do anything to the house if you wanted to modify the house in any way. There's nothing, so right now we use the house basically as our project that we're redoing, and the barn as where we put all of our stuff. But, potentially from a commercial office perspective, The house exists there. I think it works better as housing stock than it would as any kind of office building. But again, these are all just speculative.
And that's kind of why I asked, because of like this
Yeah.
also zone CO is like, it's, I believe the future land use is also the mixed use as it was, this whole essentially corridor.
Yeah, we've gotten a good education.
Yeah.
We were very fortunate to be able to pick up that property, because otherwise I would have been trying to build a barn, and maybe I would have learned it building, and I didn't really want to build a barn in the yard at the house.
All right.
So finding a barn next door was nice, but maybe we would have found out earlier that we couldn't do anything to the house if we tried to build a barn. I don't know.
Well, Nels, let's try and
I get
move
into
you
these.
forward.
I get into these thought loops. So
I think John's ready to make a motion for you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Sorry, thank you.
We are on a tangent.
All right, very good. Thank you.
Thank you, Nels.
I'll make a motion that we, application Z-2026-01, submitted by Nels Velikat to rezone parcel 05-016-038-00 at 3479 Veterans Drive from its current zoning of the CO Office Commercial District to the MU-N Mixed Use Neighborhood District be scheduled for public hearing for the March 11, 2026 Planning Commission regular meeting.
Support.
All right, we have a motion by Racine, support by Augustinelli. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Nay. Motion passes.
All right.
Appreciate you letting me ramble tonight.
Thanks, Nels.
Come down and figure out.
Sorry,
All right, we are
Okay,
on to our last item of new business, PD 2026-23, done R1 rezoning introduction.
Just gonna turn off zoning just so you can see it for a second. This property is on East Silver Lake Road, just south of the, I forget the name of the subdivision, but at Silver Pines and East Silver Lake Road, the kind of immediate property to the south of that. And this is another corridor that was talked about in the master plan discussion. I'll turn on future land use for a second here as well. We did review a little bit, had a discussion on East Silver Lake Road, noting that one side of that road is all R1, and you also kind of have that area hemmed in a little bit by R1 immediately to the north of this property. You have the Meadow Lane mobile home park, you have the Olson property, and then you also have housing development in Blair Township to the south on Rennie School Road. So this property is currently zoned as agricultural, but the request is to rezone to R1. Same thing, it's an introduction. Some of the basic information is in the staff report. But knowing that we just talked about this one in the master plan update, this is kind of that first application since then. And the applicant is here if we have any questions as well.
Anybody have questions or concerns? It seems pretty straightforward to me relative to the future master plan and the staff's report.
Okay, I'll make the motion that application Z 2026-02, submitted by John W. Dunn to rezone parcel 05-029-014-10 on Northeast Silver Lake Road from its current zoning of the A Agricultural District to the R1 One-Family Residential District be scheduled for a public hearing on March 11th, 2026, Planning Commission regular meeting.
Support.
We have a motion by Augustinelli with support by Robertson. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Nay. The motion passes. And that brings us to our second opportunity for public comment. We have one representative of the public. Yeah. All right. We'll close public comment then. I don't think we have any other business tonight. And for our next agenda, we have a joint meeting with the Township Board. Joe, I'm looking
6
at you.
o'clock.
You looking at me. I already added it to my calendar based on Mr. Fudge's suggestion that I show up on time.
Your sticky notes out.
We have some suggested items for the agenda in terms of the topics. And these would just all be discussion items, so you can get some feedback from the Township Board. Provide kind of an update on the implementation of the master plan in terms of the new zoning districts that we're focused on mixed use. A couple of the land use issues that you've talked about, mobile food vending units and data centers, kind of getting the feedback and direction from the town board. We, talking with the township manager, wanted to talk about trail priorities. So these are, we get a lot of interest in people wanting to have sidewalks, trails, and so forth established in the township. We're trying to find out, create the ones that are the highest priority that should be focused on. Talking of opportunity, again, the manager wanted to bring in was talking about the Red Drive Trailhead because of its location in proximity to Northwest Ed, Greenspire, some of the Minervini properties over there at the Grand Traverse Commons, and we're kind of all mixed in there, and would be just a good opportunity to be thinking about how we can work together with our partners over there, particularly with the new investments being made at the Commons Natural Area by the township. Discussion on the Olson Foundation development update. This is looking at that property north of Rennie School, west of US 31 that Olson Foundation is developing. This is where we just received the application today from Cherryland Electric to locate a facility on that site. So that this would be a good opportunity to communicate between the Planning Commission and the Township Board. There's substantial utilities being extended. There's a new road to be established as a new county road between Rennie School and Meadow Lane Drive. The last item that we're suggesting is we've been approached with the idea of developing a master plan for the Boardman Lake Loop Trail. So the idea of working in collaboration with the city of Traverse City to kind of look at the Boardman Lake Loop Trail now that's been in place for a few years, a lot of the activity that's along there to kind of just coordinate beyond the trail itself, but looking at land uses and so forth around the Boardman Lake. That's what we have. That's a lot in itself. It kind of just accumulated, but I don't know if there's any other thoughts or additions or to that agenda.
John?
It is a pretty full-sounding agenda. I hate to pile on it, but I had just one other question. Could maybe we get an update about what's the latest at the Grand Traverse Mall?
Mm-hmm.
Seems like the guy bought Macy's and had big ideas, but didn't.
Yeah, we've had some movement on that this month.
Haven't heard anything in quite a while about what's going on or not going on or why. And
Absolutely.
Any other thoughts from the commission? We're starting early, as long as Joe and I show up on time.
We'll start without you.
We'll start.
And we should have plenty of time to get through a lot of that. Fortunately, Joe will be running the meeting, so not Joe Robertson, but
Joe Mack.
yeah. So
I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
thank you. We're adjourned.